The biggest rumor that we're hearing right now is that in 2022, the Los Angeles Lakers will be overpowered. It has been reported that Chris Paul of the Oklahoma City Thunder and Paul George of the Los Angeles Clippers will be leaving their teams and joining the Los Angeles Lakers to join LeBron James and Anthony Davis. If this were to happen, it would probably be the greatest super team of all time. Calling out all Laker fans, if this video can get to 100 likes in the first 24 hours, we're going to be giving some good luck that in 2022, this super team would dominate the NBA and will actually happen. When it was first announced that the NBA will be holding the rest of their season in Orlando, one thing that will be coming out of this bubble is definitely players trying to recruit each other. Many NBA coaches believe that with all the time they have during the NBA bubble, while they're not practicing or playing a game, they're seeing other NBA players more often than they would during a regular season. This can cause players to communicate, can cause players to potentially team up in the future, and that's why in 2022, a Bleacher Report reporter has claimed that this will happen. Greg Swartz of Bleacher Report says this: if Paul George has the opportunity to join LeBron James and Chris Paul, could he pass it up? Especially if he wouldn't have to leave LA, Los Angeles. The Lakers might have a max cap space for Paul George in 2022, and Chris Paul should be willing to take a mid-level exception fresh off his nearly $160 million contract. While this would be an older core, LeBron James isn't showing any signs of slowing down, and Anthony Davis would still be in his 20s. I'm not gonna lie guys, this would be a far-fetched situation. It's not likely, but it's not impossible. But I do have a statement and something I truly believe in. Whether it is in the 2021 free agency or the 22 free agency, the Los Angeles Lakers will keep getting better. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how the possibility of Chris Paul and Paul George will be able to join the Los Angeles Lakers and about the Los Angeles Lakers' future. But before I get into the video, I just want to say if you're new to the channel and love basketball, welcome to Easy Buckets, guys. I make basketball videos on a daily and consistent basis, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to turn on post notifications to not miss any of my upcoming videos. We are currently on the road to 33,000 subscribers, guys. I really appreciate their support. I love you guys so much for always liking my videos, commenting. I read all your comments, guys, and I'm telling you right now, the videos ain't stopping anytime soon, so be sure to join the Easy Gang as soon as possible. But without wasting any more time, guys, we're going straight into how the Los Angeles Lakers will be able to do the undoable. The first player that I want to talk about in this situation is Chris Paul. We're talking about Chris Paul's situation right now. He is recognized as one of the veterans in the NBA who is an all-star but getting overpaid. Ever since his contract extension, Chris Paul has moved from the LA Clippers to the Houston Rockets, played 2 seasons there, and then recently just got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder the past offseason. He's kind of been bounced around a little bit because of how his age is ruining his game, but ever since playing with OKC, his game has literally elevated. Being 35 years old right now, Chris Paul is proving to the NBA that age doesn't matter, and he's putting up great numbers and helping OKC go to the NBA playoffs right now. With his averages of 17 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists per game, Chris Paul is literally playing great basketball as a leader for the OKC, as they are currently fighting for the top 4 spot in the Western Conference. A fun fact to know is that they weren't even expected to be a playoff team going into this season, and Chris Paul was a prime target to be traded from OKC right after he got traded from Houston Rockets. As of right now, Chris Paul will be entering the 2021 free agency with a player option in 2022 of $44 million. He'll be turning 36 years old, guys, and with that $44 million contract on the line, I believe he'll opt in and take that contract because it's just so much money. In this case scenario, Chris Paul will be entering the 2022 free agency as an unrestricted free agent, which means he can go anywhere he wants. So this is the first point that I want to make, and also with the reporter saying that after his fresh contract, Chris Paul will most likely be taking a big pay cut. As of right now, Chris Paul has had 0 shots at an NBA championship. He's never made an NBA conference final appearance, or of course an NBA finals appearance. So that's why when his contract expires, he's going to want to join the best team possible to get an opportunity at that. And joining the Los Angeles Lakers, who'll still be great, is the best solution for him. As I mentioned earlier, the reporter said that Chris Paul is most likely to take a pay cut, and that's why I don't believe he'll be asking for a max contract. He might be asking for maybe a $10 to $15 million deal, and if worst case scenario they can't pay him, take maybe a $5 to $10 million deal because of his age. The most important thing in this scenario is making sure the salary caps match and making sure all NBA stars get together, and if all of them are going to have to take a pay cut for an NBA championship, it's definitely worth it. But before I move on to Paul George, I want to say that the Los Angeles Lakers have been eyeing Chris Paul for a while now. And to be completely honest, they might not even get him in 2022. They might get him in this upcoming offseason in 2020. Although OKC is doing well with Chris Paul right now, there has been multiple rumors that OKC does not believe that Chris Paul is in the future plans of their organization, and right now with him playing the best basketball in his age state, they might want to trade him for the best assets possible at his peak. And there has been multiple links that during this upcoming offseason, the Los Angeles Lakers could offer up a trade to get Chris Paul earlier than 2022. If the Lakers are going to try to trade for Chris Paul, they're going to have to give up a lot and maybe some multiple draft picks. The future of OKC is definitely bright. They got a lot of draft picks trading away Russell Westbrook and Paul George, and getting some fresh young talent from LA wouldn't be bad as well. In this trade scenario, it will be Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Danny Green, Quinn Cook, Rajon Rondo, and their 2020 first-round pick for Chris Paul of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The reason why the Lakers would have to offer up so much is because Chris Paul's contract is massive of $41 million, but with the strong relationship between LeBron James, Chris Paul, and Anthony Davis on one roster, that speaks out instant championships. So when talking about Chris Paul specifically, I want to know your opinions. Should the Lakers trade for him now or just wait for 2022? Do you think he'll be washed out by then? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. So now we're going to be moving over to Paul George and his situation. Paul George is definitely a top 10 or top 15 best players in the NBA and is definitely one of the top 5 best defenders in the NBA. His game speaks for himself as he is highly valued and has to be paid a lot when going to any NBA team. But when talking about Paul George's career, I'll kind of say he hasn't really found a home yet. When he was playing for the Indiana Pacers, I believe that was his home, and it was very surprising for him to be asking for a trade, which got him traded to OKC. In his second year playing for OKC, Paul George played the best basketball of his career and ended up being an NBA All-Star starter in 2019. And going into the 2019 offseason, it was a big shocker to see him being traded to the LA Clippers. So because of that scenario and how that happened, I believe that Paul George, no matter what, wants to play for LA, the city of Los Angeles, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers. And with the upcoming seasons, if Kawhi Leonard and Paul George cannot get a championship for the Los Angeles Clippers, I believe Paul George will leave Clippers and join another team, and the Lakers are at a high point of a high possibility. Paul George will be entering the 2021 free agency with a player option in 2022 of $37 million, and I believe he'll opt in. Putting him in a familiar situation as Chris Paul, he'll be entering 32 years of age and being unrestricted in 2022. This means in 2022, both Chris Paul and Paul George will most likely be able to sign with any team that they want, and that's why the Bleacher Report reporter said that both of them will be going to Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James will also be entering free agency in 2022 as unrestricted, which means that Anthony Davis will most likely be the only player on the roster with a payroll. So if the Lakers are able to somehow manage the contracts and get all 4 of them on the same roster, this team would be a great super team in NBA history. If I were to put in the best case scenario of the NBA contracts combining and also making it work, I would save AD getting at $35 million, LeBron James getting $30 million, Paul George getting $25 million, and Chris Paul getting maybe a $10 million deal. This would put LA Lakers over the luxury tax by a little bit, and they should have some money to sign veteran NBA contracts and minimum deals. Just imagine a starting lineup of Chris Paul point guard, Paul George shooting guard, LeBron James small forward, Anthony Davis power forward, and Dwight Howard probably at center. That team would be disgusting. But also in this video, I've decided I want to put out a fallback scenario and situation for LA Lakers. I believe CP3 going to the Lakers is the most likely, and if they're unable to get Paul George, there are so many options out there as well. Some players entering free agency will be Blake Griffin, Drew Holiday, Gary Harris, Julius Randle, Aaron Gordon, and a Laker fan favorite, Zach LaVine. In a scenario that Paul George can't join the team, I believe the Lakers can sign Zach LaVine for a cheaper deal than Paul George would be expecting. Zach LaVine could be offered maybe a $15 to $20 million deal, and he'll instantly accept it and be joining that starting shooting guard position. Imagine another lineup of Chris Paul point guard, Zach LaVine shooting guard, LeBron James small forward, Anthony Davis power forward. That team would also be a championship contender in the Western Conference. There's also been multiple rumors that in this upcoming offseason, Zach LaVine will be asking the Bulls to be traded and the Lakers will be targeting him heavily. In the scenario that Zach LaVine could potentially be joining the Lakers in the 2020 offseason, they could offer up Kyle Kuzma, Tyler Horton-Tucker, and their 2023 first-round pick, and that could land Zach LaVine easily. But just to summarize this video, I believe the future for the LA Lakers is surely bright while LeBron James and Anthony Davis are both there. I believe more superstars will be drawn to them because of this NBA bubble. Whether it is Paul George or Zach LaVine, something big is about to happen and a super team is going to form. But yeah guys, this wraps up my video today on the Los Angeles Lakers. But what's most important guys is I want to know your opinions. What do you guys think is the most likely thing to happen? Is Chris Paul, Paul George, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis going to form in 2022? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. But other than that guys, take it easy, God bless, and I'll surely see you next time on Easy Buckets. Woo!
I got angels flying all